Hello and welcome to my review of the Exalted Eightbound for World Eaters for Warhammer 40,000 from Games Workshop. Now, a set of 3 of these will cost you £35. So yes, that's almost £12 per plastic miniature. I will say that they consist of 88 plastic components, which is 20 more than the Invocatus and 11 more than Angron. They do come on 2 sprues as well. It is a dual build kit, so you can build either the Exalted Eightbound or the regular Eightbound. I've built the regular Eightbound. I just feel like they look cooler. I think Games Workshop are missing the trick by not having 4 of these in a box, but that might have spilled over to 3 sprues and it probably would have increased the price to about £40. But I think it would have been worth it, because then you could buy 2 boxes and have 8 Eightbound and have some kind of extra special rule or something. The one thing I will say is I did enjoy putting these together. The mould lines weren't too bad. They were pretty fun because there's only 3 of them. They didn't take very long either. The instruction guide as well, bit of a shout out, contains more options than I first initially saw. So you can build the Exalted Eightbound there, or the regular Eightbound. The Exalted, look how many options you get there for the champion. At least 4, all with these chain fists and these eviscerator weapons. We've heard about these eviscerator weapons before, but now we've got them for Chaos and for Khorne. I'm not a massive fan of these like disc blade weapons. I'm not a big fan of them on orcs, let alone on these. I understand it from a point of view of like ripping and tearing, but I just feel like the chain axes work a bit better. These are the regular Eightbound for the champion. You've got 3 options there. You can change the weapons around, so you can have a big chain axe, you can have the eviscerator, but these will be the same, the final 2. So it's just the champion that has a bit of a difference. But if you had another box of these, you could build them as the Exalted and potentially proxy them as a normal Eightbound, because it's very important to note that the Exalted Eightbound maximum unit size is just 3. You can't bump it up to 6 or anything like that. I just feel like there should be 8 though in a unit. I'm not sure if anybody else agrees, but there we go. Right, the format of this review, as I've just stumbled onto the instruction guide straight away, is we'll have a look at the detail of these miniatures. Then I'll go through some spare parts, of which there are a good chunk of spare parts. I don't think there's as many as the Invocatus, which is saying something. Then I'll go through some size comparisons, and at the end I'll go through all of their rules. I'll talk a little bit about the Exalted Eightbound rules as well, seeing as if I am going to pick up the Exalted Eightbound, it won't be for quite some time, at least if they're included in an army set or something, because this isn't my main army, so I've just gone for the new stuff to show you all. So first things first then, let's have a look at the detail. So this is the champion. It's important to note that there are 2 kind of different weapons that they all have. They're all equipped with Eightbound eviscerators, but the champion model is equipped with lacerators. You can swap those lacerators with a heavy chain glaive. It would also have been nice if the champion could also have eviscerators too, just in case it wanted an extra attack instead of that extra strength and damage, to give it 6 attacks instead of the 5. More on that later. But basically these lacerators that the champion has are kind of like short chain swords. Yeah, I don't know, I guess the champion gets up close and personal and rips and tears with these things. Yeah, that's understandable. The pose, it's grown on me. It's not as bad as I first thought. It definitely looks funky when you built the Exalted Eightbound, you know, with the big stompy clawed feet and the face with the horns and this long eviscerate. Yeah, just something about that doesn't really strike fear in my heart. Whereas this is a bit more palpable, because he's got these short weapons, so obviously he's running, you know, at you just to carve you up, and then he's got wearing boots. And of course his face is screaming because of the butcher nails. It's just making him work that little extra. I'm not quite sure on the shoulder pauldrons as well. I would have preferred full shoulder pauldrons. Yes, I get, you know, they want to show the muscles and, you know, all the rest of it, but I still think they would have worked. Just have shoulder pauldrons, like, you know, maybe have the arms bare but still have the shoulder pauldrons, a bit like Khan, I guess. Anyway, that's the champion. This is one of the 8-bound, and armed with the 8-bound eviscerators, which just comprises of like a chain axe and a chain sword, heavily modified. This one's got a horn about to pop out. Their power plants are all different with skulls and things like that. You can see all their inputs where they would be connected to the power armor. And it's interesting how you've got these teeth around the gorget of their armor too. Like every part of them is a bit spiky, is a bit, you know, will do damage if it just runs into you, let alone hacks you to pieces. So this one again with these 8-bound eviscerators, nice amount of detail. You can just imagine this one's just sweep down. I'm not sure about this cable here. I probably would have left that off. I mean, it's got its own power makeup there. Doesn't need a cable connected for some reason. I like the chains though on the weapons. You know, this chain axe doesn't have that, but yeah. And I like the shoulder pauldron, but it does look a bit odd when they only have one on. Have they not learnt from the Phobos, I guess. Anyway, that's the 3 8-bound that I've built. Let's have a look at these spare parts then. So these are all the spare parts. You've got these long eviscerating weapons. You got one heavy chain glaive. Would have been nice to have a few of those maybe, but they're just reserved for the champions. You've got the other eviscerators, which you could, you know, change the champion and have them as a normal 8-bound and have them with the eviscerators if you wished. You've got the other chain fists and the claws. You've got another shoulder pauldron. I think these are for the Exalted 8-bound. I don't know, maybe you could put them on there, maybe. Yeah, it's possible if you knit this peg out. If you know, clip that peg out, you could potentially put them on there. I might do that. I'm going to keep these spare parts, of course. I mean, you do get 3 at the end of the day, so it is possible if you really didn't like the look of the bare shoulders and things. You've got this ripsaw blade, which is part of the chain fist, I think it is. You get a number of different heads, so you do in fact have like 2 different head variants per 8-bound. And of course then there's the, you know, exalted heads as well, which are a bit more spikier, have a few more horns and things. Hopefully you can see those. Could you use them on these? Yeah, I can't see why you wouldn't be able to. They all fit the same neck joint. You have different armor though for the exalted, with the teeth jutting out. And you've got all of the spikes and things that you would put on the shoulder pauldrons, and some more chain blade parts and wiring for those. So yeah, a decent number of spare parts. I question what you could use them for. I mean, definitely the berserkers, possibly cut a hand off and then just have one of these axes, and likewise with the shoulder pauldrons with those spikes. If you clean them up and put them on there, you could use these shoulder pauldrons on other models as well. So there's potential there of using those parts. Okay then, so size comparison. The first size comparisons I like to make are just with the current World Eaters models. I mean, of course I haven't got any Jackals or Khorne Berserkers yet, but I will be comparing their sizes to these models in their own reviews. So first things first, Angron. Angron's right there. They do hold their own near Angron. I mean, definitely if you had like 6 of them, you know, they're still big models, and 6 of them around him, yeah, it's very, well, expensive points wise and things. Yeah, they go quite well together. The Lord Invocatus, or Lord on Juggernaut. Again, they're pretty big models. You know, they're on the Terminator bases. They are a fair bit bigger than Terminators too. So there is that. And then I guess we could also compare them to a Demon Prince, because you might be running these guys with the Demon Prince as your HQ instead. So there you go, that's where they measure up. They're probably, or I'd say, torso height, all in all. So yeah, you could run a few of those with a Demon Prince. That'd be quite horrific. So a size comparison I've been meaning to make for a while is just with Possessed. Now I've got the Gal Vorback here for word bearers, and I've also got you know, the recent Chaos Space Marine Possessed. They are very similar. If anything, I'd say the Exalted Eightbound are just a little bit bigger. So yeah, the Exalted Eightbound are just a little bit bigger. So if you wanted to have some of the Exalted Eightbound with the Possessed, that would still work. The Exalted Eightbound do have a load of spikes and mutations on them as well. Not quite as many as the Possessed, but still. And then another step in terms of Horus Heresy, you've got the Gal Vorback, which are very similar. In a way, it is a bit of a shame that the Exalted Eightbound don't have any helmeted version. Instead of having two helmetless versions of the Exalted Eightbound, I would have preferred one helmeted and one helmetless. So even though we've got the two options, we can put a helmet on. Even if the helmet was like, didn't fit properly, or there was a spike coming out of it, that would have still, you know, you could still have hidden the face so that you could, so they'd match up with the other Possessed, you know, a bit better. Okay, so other Chaos size comparisons. I've got the Terminator, as I said. These are a fair bit taller and bigger than Terminators, even though they're on the same size bases. I've got a Cultist, which is, you know, dwarfed. By these, I would have thought that the Jackals would be smaller, and the Berserkers as well, when I get those. And the final comparison I'd like to make is just with the three miniatures I always make a comparison with, and that is with the Space Marine, Primaris and Slimarbo. So this is an interesting one. So a Space Marine right here is up to, it's almost at head height. I'd probably say Gorget height for a Space Marine. But then the Primaris is actually just a little bit shorter than head height. So these Exalted are bigger than Primaris. I'm not sure whether they used to be Primaris, but you know, they're definitely quite large. Probably one of the largest sort of, I say normal Space Marines, you know what I mean? They're, you know, they're Exalted, but a bit like Possessed really. Possessed are taller than the Primaris too. So yeah, if that's what you like, you know, the biggest versions of Space Marines, then you know the Exalted will definitely fit the bill. Okay, so this is my part of the review where I will go through all of the rules for the 8-bound. I'll talk a little bit about the Exalted 8-bound rules and how they differ. So of course you'll find them in your Elite section of your World Eaters Codex. There are only 4 choices for elites in the Force, and of course 2 of them are made up of the 8-bound. The other two are Terminators and a Hellbrute. So the 8-bound, they are a power points cost of a 6 and a points cost of 40 points per model. The unit size is 3, but they can go up to 6. It's normally 2 with a champion or 5 with a champion. How that compares to the Exalted 8-bound. Exalted 8-bound are more expensive. They're a power points cost of a 7 and their points cost is 135. So overall they're 15 points more expensive compared to the other 3. And you're limited in that you can only have 3 of them. They have the same toughness, same wounds and same save between both the units, but they do have a better invulnerable save, the Exalted. They have a 4+ instead of a 5+. The 8-bound stat line reads: movement of 9 inches, weapon skill 3+, ballistic skill 3+, strength 6, toughness 5, 3 wounds, 4 attacks, leadership 8 and a save of 3+. The champion has the same stat line but has 1 extra attack at 5 and a better leadership at 9. If this unit contains 4 or more models, it has a power rating of 12. Every 8-bound model is equipped with 2 8-bound eviscerators. The 8-bound champion model is equipped with lacerators. So these 8-bound eviscerators then. Strength of the user, which is decent, it's at 6. AP is -3 and damage 2, and each time the bearer fights it makes 1 additional attack with this weapon. So you're pretty much getting 5 attacks there. The lacerators then, which is what the champion has. It's a melee weapon, strength +1, so that's strength 7, AP -3 and damage 3. And remember, the champion has 5 attacks already, so you've got 5, strength 7, AP -3, damage 3 attacks, so potentially getting 15 damage overall. The 8-bound champion's lacerators can be replaced with 1 heavy chain glaive, which is a melee weapon, strength +1, so that'd be 7, AP -3 again, and damage 1, but you get 2 hit rolls instead of 1, so you're hitting with 10 attacks there at strength 7, AP -3. Abilities: the Blood Tithe, Demonkin. Models in this unit have a 5+ invulnerable save, so 3+ normal, 5+ invulnerable, toughness 5 with 3 wounds, quite good. Fearsome. While an enemy unit is within 6 inches of this unit, subtract 1 from the leadership characteristic of models in that unit. That's alright. Blood Scent. If this unit is in strategic reserves, it can be set up as if the battle round was 1 higher than it currently is, regardless of any mission rules. Note this means that this unit can be set up on the battlefield during the first battle round. That's new. Keywords: Chaos, Khorne, Heretic Astartes, Butcher Astartes, World Eaters. Keyword: Infantry, Core, Demon, 8-bound. So they're pretty good. You know, they're quite pricey though. They have the normal save of 3+, which, you know, weight of fire could whittle them down, but their toughness is 5. You know, even if you're the opponent and you see someone with 3 of these, don't just think of 3. Think of like 9, because they've got 3 wounds each. They are faster than they look as well. You know, they're moving at 9 inches instead of the regular troop speed of like 5 or 6 inches. And if they're near an Invocatus, he's making them move 11 inches, which is pretty horrific. They don't have any ranged weaponry, so you're best off shooting them from afar. And shooting them from afar you will, because they don't have a mode of transport. Like, you know, they can't go in a Rhino specifically. You know, Rhinos, it specifically states that you can't put Terminators or 8-bound models. If I was running them, I'd easily just pick a unit of 6 instead of the 3, just to increase that survivability. Compared to the Exalted 8-bound, of course, the 8-bound would have the strength of numbers by having double the number, so more survivable in terms of having 18 wounds there instead of the 9, although the Exalted 8-bound do get their 4+ invulnerable save. The Exalted 8-bound, it's important to note that they do have a weapon skill of 2+, which is something that I wished the 8-bound had. That, you know, 2+ makes all the difference, especially with that many number of attacks. The big difference as well with the Exalted is they have the 8-bound eviscerator, but they also have an 8-bound chain fist, all of them. So that is giving them a strength 9, AP -4, damage 2 weapon. So they're going to be pretty good against high toughness and vehicles. But other than the chain fist, once again, only the Exalted 8-bound champion can get that heavy chain glaive. And that's all I wanted to say about the 8-bound and the Exalted 8-bound. What do you guys think of these miniatures? Please do put your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. It'd be great to hear from you. Thank you ever so much for joining me today. Thank you for watching. Blood for the Blood God.